hearing and listening. Have you ever been accused of not really listening to someone when they're talking to you? Well, I hear you, but were you listening? Well, today's proverb, we take a step back from chapter 19 to chapter 18, and our verse of the day is Proverbs 18, verse 5, which says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." I think that's a very important thing to remember. The ears of the wise seek it out. In the Chronicles of Narnia, an allegory by C.S. Lewis, the author has two girls, Susan and Lucy, getting ready to meet Aslan the lion, who represents the king, Christ. Two talking animals, Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, prepare the children for this encounter. "Ooh," said Susan, "I thought he was a man. Is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion." "That you will, dearie," said Mrs. Beaver. "And make no mistake, if there's anyone who can appear before Aslan without their knees knocking, they're either braver than most or just plain silly." "Then isn't he safe?" said Lucy. "Safe?" said Mr. Beaver. "Don't you hear what Mrs. Beaver tells you? Who said anything about being safe? Of course he isn't safe, but he is good. He's the king, I tell you." So maybe there's something about our God that is unknown and untamable, a bit wild and reckless. We remember the imitation, or the giving of God's heart, I should say, to Moses at the encounter of the burning bush, where God says, "I am that I am, I will be that I will be." So although we can't always predict how God will be or how God will show up, we know that God is good and promises to be faithful and there with us. Well, there's a story about hearing and listening to good advice, and it's about the fox and the goat. A fox one day fell into a deep well and could find no means of escape. A goat, overcome with thirst, came to the same well and, seeing the fox, inquired if the water was any good. Concealing his sad plight under a merry guise, the fox smiled and indulged in lavish praise of the water, saying that it was excellent beyond measure and refinement, and encouraging the goat to descend as well. The goat, mindful of only his thirst, thoughtlessly jumped down. But just as he drank, the fox informed him of the difficulty that they both now found themselves in, and suggested a theme for their common escape. "If," he said, "you will place your forehead upon the wall and bend your neck just so, I will run up your back and escape, and then I will help you out afterwards." Well, you can probably see what's coming. The goat readily assented, and the fox leapt upon his back. Steadying himself with the goat's horns, he safely reached the mouth of the well and made off just as fast as he could. When the goat upbraided him for breaking his promise, the fox turned around and cried out, "You foolish old fellow! If you had as many brains on your head as you have hairs in your beard, you would never have gone down before you had inspected the way back up, nor have exposed yourself to dangers from which you had no means of escape." And our lesson is, look before you leap. Listen to what's really happening. Don't just hear what you want to hear, but listen more deeply for the reality of blessings and dangers around you today. May the Lord keep you safe as you listen for the presence of God's Spirit in your heart and in your life.